Why will most people not get rich? I think the answer is going to be subtle but important. We're going to talk with the one and only Coach Carson about this. Again, Coach, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back each and every month. And yeah, it's the end of the year. Can you believe it?
My pleasure to always be back, Michael. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I can't believe here we are end of 2025. Amazing.
Yeah, the next time we'll talk will be next year, family. That's crazy.
Exactly. It's been a good year, but the main thing, I love this question because a big part of my mission, I mean, I have focused on building wealth and trying to create freedom and autonomy for myself. And that's the reason I'm so passionate about it is I want more people, average people who have, just buy 4 or 5 houses or 2 houses to have
Mhm.
more freedom. And I think getting rich and having wealth is not the end itself, but it's the mechanism that allows people to have more FU money and have more freedom and more flexibility. So like, I think this is like answering that question is really a lot of why we do what we do,
Yeah, it's really interesting because when I think about all the people I've interacted in my 50 plus years, almost everyone wants to be rich, right? They say the words, right? I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy, whatever. But I got to tell you, I don't see the habits or the disciplines in almost everyone to kind of get there, right? Because I don't know about you, but having done this now for 3 decades, I think getting rich is really a simple math formula, right? It's kind of 3 steps. And step 1 is sacrifice, live below your means. And that's often where people fall down. Sometimes
That's the
it's
hard
step 2, yeah, step 3, but yeah, that's a big one. So you just can't say it, right? You got to kind of live the discipline.
Yeah, I'll tell a brief story that when I was a 22-year-old, I was graduating from college. I played football in college. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and I took this business class, which kind of changed my directory. There's a guy named Louis Stone, Dr. Stone, and I started bugging him, and he was a real estate investor, and I started riding around with him after class, looking at properties. And one day he said, "Chad, you want to know how to become rich?" I'm like, "Yeah, sounds good to me." Like, of course, I'm 22 years old. And he said, "I'm going to tell you a story that somebody told me when I was 22 years old." He was working in a textile mill, and there's this wealthy guy who owned a bunch of mills, and he told Louis the same thing. He's like, "Louis, you don't know how to become rich?" He nodded his head. He's like, "What you got to do is you got to learn how to make $30,000 per year and live off 30,000 per year." This is back, 50, 60 years ago, whatever it was. He said, "Got it, Louis? Got it." He said, "Next thing you got to do is you got to learn how to make $60,000 per year. And then you got to learn how to keep living off 30,000 per year. Got it, Louis? Got it."
Exactly.
Then he said, "Now you got to learn how to make $120,000 per year and still live off $30,000 per year." He's like, "Louis, if you do that, you can't help but become rich." And that stuck with me because it's so simple and we all know it intellectually, but being able to, we have reasons why when we make 120,000 a year, we get that raise and now we're making 200,000 or 150, how there's good reasons to justify spending more. I mean, hey, I don't want to live my life. I want to enjoy this, but like you got to find a balance there where you actually have a gap between what you earn and what you spend. If you never can do that, there's no secret that Micro I can tell you. There's no, strategy that's going to like bail you out of that. That's the bottom line. You gotta figure out a way to have an excess to reinvest into more stuff.
No, again, step 1 of the wealth formula is discretionary income. In your example, it's that delta between 30K life and 60 or 120 grand. That's the secret. I'm reminded of a question I always ask when I get invited to talk to high school seniors. Somewhere in that talk, and usually it's just a conversation, I ask all of them, how many of them think they can live on $2,000 a month? And every time they raise their hands, they don't know what stuff costs, right? They're 17 and 18-year-olds. But I make sure to tell them that if that's true, and they could do it for 5, 6, 7 years, right? To your point, don't stop living on 2K even if you make more money. I tell all of them that they could be financially free by the time they're 30. Right? Which when you tie that together with being a high school senior, that means they're younger than their parents. Who wouldn't want to be financially free at an age that's younger than their parents, right? Because their parents are probably 35 to 50 if they're 18. And it's just sometimes you just got to know it's possible. And then of course, the step 3 of the wealth formula is you got to do it for a decade. Right? This is nothing you or I talk about is get rich quick. It's not get rich tomorrow. It's not get rich next week or next year. It's next decade.
Yeah.
But it's math. It's just math.
What was step 2? We skipped over that one. Step 1 was
step
save the
2
money. Step 3 is be consistent for a decade.
And step 2 is you got to become elite. You got to pick your thing.
Yeah.
right? I do not believe in diversification early in the wealth building journey. I want you to become elite at your thing. I don't care what your thing is, right?
Right.
For me, it was a buy box, 93703, 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, 1 story, 18
Mhm.
to 2,100 square feet. If it was that widget, I knew it better than anybody else. And if it wasn't that widget, it didn't exist.
Yep.
That's what focus means,
Yep.
right? So, I mean, it could be class. I mean, I know a guy who his thing is 1950s and 1960s ice hockey trading cards, right? He's probably the top 5 or 10 people in the world on that niche.
Yep.
But because he knows it so well, he's making 7 figures, right? He
Mhm.
understands value. You can buy below and sell above and, grade cards and do all these things. And I don't just, there are so many ways, Chad, to become an elite person today.
Yep.
It's comical.
Yeah, and that principle applies not just to us, like small and mighty investors, one rental at a time investors. It applies to people who just invest in index funds or something because
Go nuts. Yeah.
whatever you're going to do, like just get good at that one little thing. And if you're somebody who's not going to spend the time to invest in real estate, that's cool. But be
Yeah.
really good. Be really good at your job. Like you were in sales. I
Mhm.
used to flip houses. I got really good at flipping houses. Like it doesn't matter. Like that. Going back to Louis' story, you just need to increase your income in order to save more. And so you got to get good.
Exactly.
Like making more money is the end result of you adding more value to somebody or to some organization or to some part of society. Like that's the shortcut you can't mix. And so I love talking to college students as well and high school students too. Like that idea of living below your means, number one, and then number two, figure out something, get good at something, like have a skill that's valuable. And I try to, my daughters are at 12 and 14 now. And this is something I'm really trying to plant seeds with them on is like, if you're interested in something, I don't care if it's like, some kind of like ceramics that you're doing, or if it's like, something in math, or if it's making a robot, like study it and get good at it. Just practicing the skill of going deep and getting good at something is transferable to all sorts of things because it's the process of learning, it's the practice of practicing, it's the process of listening to other people and figuring out how do you solve their problems. Like that skill is super valuable. And I don't care what happens and whatever our future of our economy looks like, there's still going to be people who need help on something. And so that process is really the core of whatever wealth building you're doing. Like that value process is really is at the center of it all.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm reminded of is obviously we have our Vegas event coming up, our 3rd annual one. But I actually went back and watched your presentation from year one. It was rated the most impactful presentation of the event in year one.
Wow.
And what always caught me was the understanding of enough. And I think that's also something that we suffer from. A lot of people that I know that get going in this, they just keep moving the goalposts. Right. And it's like
Mhm.
you like a lot of people have already done things that they said would make them happy, but they just keep moving the goalposts.
Yep.
I think more of us need to understand and really talk about what's enough
Yep.
because sometimes when you win the race, stop running.
I've got a couple new ideas on that, and I think the two ideas are depending on what stage of your career you're at. And so let's talk about like the person, me listening to Louis, my professor, when he was telling me when you're 20 years old and you just got to learn how to live off less. I think at that stage, psychologically, the hard part for me was when you make more money, it's easier to spend it because you think spending money makes you happy. And I think this is a happiness journey. And I think in your 20s or your teens or even your 30s, the journey is figuring out how to be happy without a bunch of money.
Hmm.
But because ultimately, like if you like for me, it was figuring my wife, when I met my wife, we would go camping, we would go hiking, we went on low budget travel, we would take our backpacks and figure out a way to go somewhere in the world where we got the cheapest flight and then stay in hostels. And
Hmm.
there wasn't a sacrifice. Like a lot of people they argue in their 20s, like, I don't want to sacrifice. I want to enjoy my 20s. And I think back about some of the experiences I had that were on a budget and they were the happiest times of my life. Like they were amazing. Because I was creative enough to figure out, I wonder what really makes me happy. And I wonder if I could like squeeze every ounce out of those limited dollars I have. And it was a training on being happy. And then,
Hmm.
so that's one challenge. Like number one, you got to figure out what's enough in your 20s or your earlier career so that you can be happier just with nothing or with less. And
Hmm.
then I think there's an opposite problem with some people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you get on this wheel of building wealth, making more money. And this is where the moving the goalposts come in. It's like you get convinced that, well, now I need, I've heard somebody on the radio say, or the podcast say, you need $10 million in order to be really wealthy. But now you have 5 million and you're super wealthy. But you're like, no, but I'm not really there yet. So I'm going to move it a little bit further, and a little bit further. And at that stage, it's really about, what did you try to get wealthy for in the first place? And you've learned how to sacrifice, you've learned how to delay gratification. At that point, I think the harder psychological game is stop playing that game and actually start playing a different game, which is like taking your foot off the pedal and paying attention to the people in your life a little bit more, paying attention to your health like Michael's doing, and trying to work, put your ambition on some things that are non-monetary, because if you were like me, you probably neglected those a little bit as you were growing. So it's life's kind of a back and forth thing. Like there is no such thing as balance. It's really about going back and forth between different extremes. And in your 20s, there's one, you got to learn how to live off less. I think as you progress though, you also have to learn how to start spending your money and enjoying it, and stop getting off the build wealth train, because that's not going to make you happy either.
Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about this book before, but there's a book by Bill Perkins called Die with Nothing.
Yeah, Die with Zero, exactly.
Die with Zero, sorry, Die with Zero. It's that's a really great book for folks. I would probably, like, if you're like 35, that would definitely be a book I would kind of pick up, because again, I think it helps to reframe or frame what I've seen. Right. One of the things that I've been lucky enough to do the last decade or so is take some just stupid level of travel, right? 5- and 6-star kind of events, 10 to 50 grand or whatever they were. And when you do that, you obviously are around other people that can afford that, right? It's just kind of self-selection. But what I saw is most of those people, like there was a trip we did through Germany down one of the rivers. It was on a Viking cruise ship with 99 guests, really tiny. And I had to tell you, dude, the average age had to be 80. Had to be. Yeah. And oh, by the way, the average wealth was probably 25 million, right? So these were no slouches. Mm-hmm. But, 25 million at 80, where you're at best in a walker, maybe in a wheelchair. You really can't, get off the boat for more than 20 minutes because you're exhausted.
Yep.
And just kind of sitting, looking out the window and watching the world go by. That's like, no, thank you. I don't want any part of that. You know what? I'll be worth 15 million at 65. F that final 10, right? It's just, guys, don't make that mistake. Everybody I talked to plenty of the gentlemen who were 80 plus, worth probably 50 million was my average conversation. And they're like, I should have done this a decade ago. I should have done this. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times I heard a version of my spouse of 55 years. We had always talked about this. As I got to the end, she or he got sick and they never got to do this. Mm-hmm. Just heart-wrenching. It's like, man, that's what always gets me to come back to your conversation from year one. What is enough? Because if they had to do it again, they would give up that money in a heartbeat.
100%.
It's crazy.
And this really comes down to what kind of strategy you're doing today. This is why I'm such a big fan of the one rental at a time stuff. And I talk about the small and mighty stuff. It's because how you choose to invest determines the outcome and what your life looks like. And you've got to model. I mean, there's lots of quote successful people out there. And most of the success that really kind of bothers me, that I try to push back, that I hope the small and mighty investor pushes back against, is somebody who always says, well, just a little bit more, 10x. We gotta get bigger, bigger, bigger. No, like that's not that. There's a different approach, which is you're on a journey, and at some point you take a break, you get off the trail, you enjoy life. You in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, in your all along. And I think that was one of the big things I took away from the Die with Zero book, is that you have to look at wealth not just as money. Like money is one form of wealth, but you also have to look at your health. And you got to look at the amount of time you have. And all three of those, when you're in your 20s, you have a ton of time and a ton of health and not much money. When you're in your 80s, you probably have a lot more wealth, but not much health. And, you have a lot of time.
Little time.
Yeah. You have much time. So you got to identify the time of your life when it might not be the perfect time. You might not have as much wealth as you think you have, but this is the time when your kids can travel with you, or when your spouse can travel with you, or when you have the health to be able to climb this hill that you wanted to climb, or go walk around. Like, there's more to life than just having the biggest bank account when you die. That's it.
Yeah, the other thing I would tell folks is I've met a lot of people in my life that want to travel to Greece as kind of their dream vacation. And I say go for it. It's my favorite trip I've ever done.
Mm.
Was I think we did 3 weeks in and around the Greek islands. But let me just tell you this. You better be healthy, because there's no escalators, there's no elevators. And there's no shade if you go in the summer, which we did in August. Oh, it was hot.
Yeah.
So again, I think that book by Bill Perkins is just the thought is, and that's why I always come back to your speech from year one was, what is enough? And because that's what this is about, man. We only got one time around this crazy life. And when it's over, it's over. We all have a certain amount of time, and whether we like it or not, more money can always be made. But time, once it's spent, it's gone. And to your point, health. And that was a big thing for me this year. Obviously, as my health got away from me, I was heaviest I'd ever been, almost 35% body fat at 5'10", which is just ugly to look at. And I'm like, that's enough, right? We got to do something different, because, I want to make the last 10 or 15 years of my life, I can still walk around and, take care of myself. I don't want to be, crumbled because I didn't take care of myself.
Well, congratulations on prioritizing that, and I admire that, and I think it's one of the reasons I like reconnecting with you. Is it's fun to have peers who we can push each other and inspire each other, and hopefully we inspire other people who are watching this too, to kind of join in. Not that we have it all figured out, but we're all in this journey together. We're trying to get better and figure it out.
Yeah, we're trying, man. I am curious. We didn't plan for this, but when you look, because again, we're at the end of the year, we won't talk again until next year. How would you rate 2025 for Chad, Coach Carson? And what's one or two big plans for 26 if you have them already?
Yeah, 25 was really good in the Coach Carson world. Like I feel like the YouTube channel, not only the metrics were good, but I think I found this really good connection with people. Like I just got more comments that were like, this really resonates with me. This is exactly what I needed. Like just more often getting those comments. And thanks to being on your show and other places, I've kind of gotten the word out more. So that's been really cool. My community has grown pretty well, and we've had, gotten kind of at or right below our membership cap, and so nice. Very, very, very fortunate in that respect. And real estate wise, I'm kind of in the still the slow moves. We're building some properties this year. Nice. And so we bought a property that was on the market for 3 months, and it was listed at $299, and we ended up getting it for $190. And then we tore the house down, and we're splitting 2 lots into 3 lots and building houses on that. And so that's been pretty cool, just to continue that new build to rent sort of strategy. So and then from a personal standpoint, we're doing less of the living abroad like we did before, where we stayed, but we're still doing traveling here and there, kind of in the US. And I'm focusing more on my travels on Asia now. Like I've always been drawn to so many different places in Asia, and I have a person who works with me his family's from Vietnam, and so I've got kind of that on my travel radar. We're actually going to visit nice. Japan next year, and spend 3 weeks there, and got some other places. But anyway, those are kind of the things on my outside of the family and kind of personal stuff. Those are some of the things I'm working on and thinking about going forward.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you're an amazing human being. You're helping thousands and thousands of people each and every month. But where can people find you?
Coach Carson on YouTube. If you just search for Coach Carson, I have a new episode, at least one per week. Usually on Mondays is when it drops. So check that out. And then if you go to my website, I have a newsletter that I publish every week, and that's free. You can get it. Just go to coachcarson.com/newsletter, and I would love to connect with you there.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Have a good week.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
You too. Thanks, Mike.